The Kavani had watched the stars for a very long time. They lived in huge crystal stations far between galaxies where the light was weak and silence was deep. They were not fighters. They did not build weapons or warships. They were watchers, recorders of what happened in the universe. They saw empires rise and fall, planets burn, and species vanish. They never stepped in. They believed that war was a sign of weakness, a mistake of young minds. When the first human ships left their solar system, the Kavani took note. Not because the ships were strong or fast. They were not. They were loud, messy, and full of noise. Human signals flew into space like shouts in the dark. Their ships used old engines and burned fuel like fire. But still, they kept moving forward, building stations, landing on moons, reaching further. Then the Zenthari came. The Zenthari were not like other species. They were a hive, a single mind spread across thousands of living ships. They did not talk, trade, or build. They only took. They landed on a planet, burned it clean, and moved on. 37 worlds fell in less than 100 years. The Kavani watched each one die. They recorded the screams, the fire, the silence after. But they did nothing. It was not their way. When the Zenthari turned toward Earth, the Kavani focused all their sensors. They studied the blue planet with its oceans and clouds. They saw cities, farms, children playing. They saw war too, humans fighting each other, even as danger came from space. The Kavani shook their heads. This species was not ready. They were divided, weak, and slow. "They will not last," said Elrin, the lead watcher. "They do not even stand together," asked Vela, a younger observer. Elrin did not answer at first. He looked at the data: human music, art, science, dreams of the stars. Things that made no sense in war. Things that had no value to the Zenthari. "Because," he said slowly, "sometimes the quiet ones surprise us." And so they waited, floating in the dark, as the first human warships moved into position near Mars. They did not know it yet, but for the first time in their long history, the Kavani were about to witness something they had never seen before. Humans who would not run, who would not beg, who would fight, not for power, but for home. The signal came at night near Jupiter. A strange ship appeared, smooth, silent, made of something like ice. It did not move like a normal ship. It just floated, glowing with soft blue light. The humans called it the Endeavor, and its captain was Paul Carter. He stood on the bridge, eyes on the screen, heart beating slow and steady. "This is Commander Paul Carter of the Earth vessel Endeavor. Identify yourself." There was no voice. Instead, a burst of data hit the ship's systems. Images flashed, planets on fire, cities melting, people screaming as the sky fell. Then came words, clear and cold. "You cannot win. Surrender is your only survival." Paul did not flinch. Beside him, Lieutenant Laura Wells read the message twice. "They're telling us to give up? Just like that?" "They've seen what the Zenthari do," said Nathan Green, the science officer. "They're trying to save us." "Save us," Laura said, "by telling us to die on our knees?" Paul looked out the window. Earth was far away now, just a small blue dot. He thought of his sister, of the park where he played as a boy, of the noise and mess and life down there. "We don't do that," he said. Back on their crystal station, the Kavani watched. They saw the human ship hold its ground. They expected fear. They expected panic. Instead, the humans sensed something strange,
a piece of music, loud, wild, full of joy. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony filled the data channel. "What is this noise?" asked Vela, one of the watchers. "It is not noise, it is a message." "But it makes no sense. Music will not stop the Xanthari." "No," Elrin said, watching the human faces on screen, "but it shows us who they are." The Kavani had never seen a species use beauty as a shield. They had never seen one answer fear with song. The humans did not have the best weapons. They did not have perfect ships, but they had something the Kavani could not measure: pride, hope, and the will to stand even when they should fall. When the music ended, the humans sent one more line: "We will meet them in the field." Elvrin closed his eyes. For the first time in thousands of years, he felt something new: fear. Not for the humans, but for what they might become.
The battle began near Mars. The sky above the red planet darkened as the Xanthari came. Thousands of black, living ships, shaped like wings, pulsing with red light. They moved like a storm, fast and silent. Behind them, dead worlds floated in the void. This was their way: destroy, take, move on. The human fleet was small. Old ships, weak shields, not enough weapons. They called themselves the United Earth Fleet, but they were made of broken parts and borrowed time. The Endeavor was there, scarred from past fights. So was the California, a fast attack ship with a tired crew. Paul Carter stood on the Liberty now, the new command ship, his face hard, his voice calm. "We don't fight like they do," he said over the comms. "We fight smart." And then the battle started. Instead of forming a line, the human ships split up. They darted in and out of asteroid fields, fired and ran, used the sun's light to hide. Railguns shot metal rods at near light speed, tearing through alien hulls. One ship, the New Hope, crashed into a Xanthari command node on purpose, exploding in a flash of fire. Laura Wells flew a small drone, invisible and fast. She slipped past the swarm, planted fusion bombs on a key ship, and got out just before it blew. The blast split the Hive fleet in two, making them attack each other by mistake. Nathan Green sent a strange sound, not a weapon, but sound. Laughter, music, a child singing. The Xanthari had no idea what it was. Their minds were built for orders, not joy. The signal messed with their control, made them slow, made them confused. The humans didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like thinkers, like artists, like people who refused to die quietly. One by one, the Xanthari ships broke apart. Some fled, others just stopped moving, floating like dead fish in space. When it was over, the sky cleared. Wreckage floated everywhere. Human ships burned. Bodies were lost. Paul looked at the screen, his hands shaking, but his eyes strong. They had won, not with power, not with size, but with heart. Back in the deep dark, the Kivani watched it all. They saw the chaos, the pain, the strange way the humans fought. "They turned noise into a weapon," said Vela. "They turned fear into fire," said Elrin. For the first time, the watchers were silent, not because they had nothing to say, but because they were afraid of what came next.
The battle was over, but the cost was high. The sky above Mars was filled with broken ships and silent bodies. The human fleet had stopped the Xanthari, but many of their own were gone. The Endeavor was badly damaged. The California had not returned. On Earth, people lit candles and said names. They had won, but it did not feel like victory. Paul Carter stood on a metal walkway in the lunar shipyard. Around him, workers in heavy suits climbed over wrecked ships, welding plates, fixing engines. Smoke rose from hot metal. Voices called out orders. There was no time to rest. Everyone knew the Zentari would come back, stronger, angrier. A message arrived from the Cavani. Their ice-like ship appeared far out near Jupiter. This time, their words were not cold. They said, "You cannot win. The swarm will return. Leave now. We can save some of you." Paul read the message and turned to Laura, who had come back with burns on her arm and fire in her eyes. "What do we say?" she asked. Paul smiled, small but strong. "We say no." They sent a single image, not a weapon, not a threat. A child, no more than 6, planting a small tree in a cracked field. The ground was black, the air thin. But the child was smiling. Behind her, a broken wall had words painted on it. "We stay." Back on Earth, people joined the fight in their own way. A school teacher from Denver helped design new shields. A fisherman from Alaska flew a drone in the outer fleet. A poet from Boston wrote words that played on every ship, every base, every home. "We are not the strongest, we are not the fastest, but we are here, and we will not leave." Nathan Green worked day and night, studying Zentari tech pulled from the wreckage. He found weak points, ways to break their signals, ways to use sound and light against them. "They don't understand us," he said, "and that's our edge." Paul walked through the shipyard, talking to young pilots, old engineers, medics with tired eyes. He saw fear, yes, but he also saw fire. The Cavani watched it all. They saw the humans not break, but grow. "They lost so much," Vela said. "And still they build, still they fight." For the first time, the Watchers felt something new. Not fear, respect.
The final battle began at the edge of the solar system. The Zentari came with 10,000 ships, a dark wave moving through space like a storm without end. Their fleet was bigger, faster, hungrier. They had learned. They were ready. But so were the humans. The United Earth Fleet waited near the icy rocks of the Kuiper Belt. 1,200 ships, some old, some new, most held together by hope and steel. The EFS Liberty led them, its hull scarred, its engines roaring. Paul Carter stood on the bridge, calm, his voice steady over the calms. "This is not about winning," he said. "It's about standing. For Earth, for home, for everyone who said we wouldn't last. We are still here, and we fight." Then the fleet moved. They did not charge in a line. They split, twisted, used comets and dust clouds to hide. Railguns fired, missiles flew, drones swarmed like bees. Laura Wells flew deep into the enemy fleet in a stolen Zentari skiff, guiding it straight into the heart of their command ship. She smiled as she hit the trigger. The fusion bomb blew, tearing the hive node apart. Nathan Green sent one last signal, not a weapon, but a wave of sound. Every voice ever recorded played at once. Songs, laughter, a mother's lullaby, a child's first word. The Zentari could not understand it. Their minds, built for war, broke under the weight of joy. Explosions lit the dark. Ships crashed. Some humans died taking out key targets. They knew it would cost everything, and they did it anyway. In the end, the Zentari stopped. Their ships floated, lifeless. The swarm was broken. Silence fell. The survivors, few, tired, bleeding, drifted among the wreckage. They pulled friends from broken ships. They buried the dead in space with quiet words and closed eyes. Back in their distant station, the Cavani watched it all. They saw the cost. They saw the courage. They saw a species that should have died 100 times, but never did. Elrin spoke softly. We thought strength was in size, in power, in silence. Vela looked at the pale blue dot far away. They had none of those, but they had something else. Yes, Elrin said. They had heart. And for the first time, the Watchers sent a message of their own, not warning, not fear. Respect. You have earned the stars, it said. And in that moment, humanity was no longer just a species. They were legend.